Hi everybody, this is getting a bit of a habit, isn't it? I'm back, and you're in the chair again. But this time, it is, let me just see who it is. It's George Glenn, 8080. But I'm going to answer the question, who would I like to have wrestled and I didn't wrestle? Well, the answer for me is quite simple, and I'll tell you why. All the wrestlers that I've wrestled and have found really interesting have all been Wigan trained, really. You know, you've got Billy Robinson, Bob Robinson, and even Carl Gotch and people like that have all been trained at Wigan. So, who's the guy that trained these people? What would it have been like to be on the mat with him? I couldn't go on the mat with him because when I knew him, he was around his 70s. I'd been on the mat with him, but he always wore a trilby. We weren't exactly wrestling, but if I was to choose somebody that I never went on the mat with him, there was no chance of me ever going on the mat with him because he was, you know, a lot older than me, that would be my choice. Of all the wrestlers in the world, the one person that I would have liked to have got on the mat with, to experience what, I mean, other people talked about it. Bob Robinson talked about it because Bob had been on the mat with Billy when Billy was younger, because Bob, of course, was a man in his mid-40s when I knew him, and so Billy would have been much younger, probably a man in his late 50s or when he started to train Bob. So Bob has actually been on the mat with our Billy. I haven't. I've only been on the mat with this old guy wearing a trilby, and the trilby never fell off. I would really like to have had that experience, because when you're on the mat with Bob, this is Bob Robinson, not Billy Robinson, who wrestled as Billy Joyce. It was like wrestling a snake. He was so smooth and so in and out. And he very much reminded me of the catch equivalent to Keneshiro Ebe. Yeah, it was like trying to grasp water. You grasped it and it just ran through your fingers. There was nothing to hold on to. And he was like that. And it goes right back to Kyushin-do and the concept of Keneshiro Ebe, which I'll talk to you about in another video. But it's this idea that there's nothing to hang on to. You like slither about. I'll tell you one other little tiny story about Bob. I know this is Bob Robinson, Billy Joyce. He was one of the best catch wrestlers about at the time. Even Billy Robinson says he was better than him. About 4 years into my professional, maybe a bit longer, 4 or 5 years into my professional career, I'm working for Dale Martins and I'm on with Bob Robinson, Billy Joyce. He wrestled Billy Joyce. And he's what's potentially, this guru of catch wrestling. And he comes into the dressing room to me, little old me, and he said, can you make sure I get a good show tonight because I want to get more work off Dale Martin. I'm thinking, this guy is the magician and he's asking me to make sure that he gets a good show. And of course I made sure he did get a good show because, I respected he wasn't the most charismatic personality-wise. But when you're in the ring with it, even as a professional, you could tell there's still that silkiness about him. But he wasn't entertaining. He was not an entertainer, what he was. But he obviously was a chip off the old block as far as Billy Riley's concerned. And Billy Riley must have been better because they all said Billy Riley was better. I suppose he was. I would like to have experienced it. So once again, I'm going to move on to the next event, and I don't know who's going to ask the next question. I'm eager to find out. So join me in the next episode. Bye for now.